Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, let's figure out if we can actually make this work. I'm going to see if we can do one of these live from all the way across the world. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhon here. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. And certainly we have a potential for some active weather today, hence the reason we're doing this. Not something that I expected we'd be doing at this point or when we launched this. I am coming to you from Cairns, Australia, and we are looking, of course, at this point here, it is 4 something in the morning, but I couldn't sleep because I was worried about what's going on back there. So let's talk about that. First off, I'll make sure it looks like all of our push alerts and everything have gone through. So let's kind of dig into the forecast. Now, I'll tell you this. This is going to be one of those forecast discussions like we sometimes do a lot of midday where I'm kind of looking through everything at the same time that we're talking about it. So this isn't going to be as concise as some of those discussions where it's bam, 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 you get everything immediately. This is going to take me a minute to kind of work through what's going on back there in the States, get my brain fully turned on so we can start talking about what we can expect as we go through the day. So let's kind of start here for a moment by looking at radar at this instance. You can see Mississippi Live Weather Radar showing active weather back out here for locations back to the west, out into Oklahoma, back into, say, Arkansas there. And I'll be honest, of the issues I have here on the ability to see, I no way I'm going to be able to read what the comments are on the chat for a little bit because that is too small. I brought my oldest and lightest laptop, not my fastest and newest, and we'll decide whether or not that is a mistake here before we're all said and done. Okay, but the Storm Prediction Center, Norman, Oklahoma, has put out this risk for severe weather as far as today is concerned. Let's see if I can get my camera a little more lined up there. This is very similar to what we showed last night. And did someone say no sound? Hold on. Let me double check here. I'll make sure that's not incorrect. Give me just a moment. And let me click refresh on one of those browsers over here. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. So this is, in my mind, worth the wait to just double check to make sure that is good. I'm telling you right now, the chat I'm looking at, this is my screen here. As you can see, everything layered on about 16 different times. Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to read that because that's infinitely too small. So I'll check out some of your comments here in just a minute. So here's our severe weather risk for the day. You can certainly see that there is a zone when we look back to the west that is clearly the more central zone back out here, Arkansas, back toward South Arkansas. So we are not in bullseye for this event. But we definitely will probably see some impact from it. Bring it back here into North Mississippi. As you'll notice, that risk does extend all the way down to South Mississippi. The tornado risk, obviously, always that big concern. This is similar in location what we had, I think, smoothed a little bit more versus what we had overnight. I should be able to force this thing to show me older outlooks. Let me see if I can do that. That hasn't been something I've needed to this point here. But that is something I think it can do. So let's go back a little earlier today. Yeah, so you can see they have a little bit off of that, kind of smoothed it out somewhat. And I think that's about as far back as I'm going to be able to get on this. So that is a little adjustment on that. We'll look at that in more detail on the other factors in a minute. But the thinking is that most storms probably will not be tornado-producing thunderstorms. Most storms will produce strong wind gusts. A few could produce damaging wind gusts. And in there, it's possible maybe one tries to produce a tornado. Tornadoes on a high level, on a widespread level, on a major level are not anticipated with this setup. But brief tornadoes, and again, any tornado that hits you is a significant one, but brief tornadoes, EF1 or weaker in particular, what we'd be looking at out of this kind of a setup here. We will talk about the most vulnerable locations here in a minute. The wind risk, the most likely impact, more than anything, this is probably a line of wind and rain that's coming from a west to east through the area late this evening and tonight. And the hail risk is solidly back to the north and west, hence the reason we really haven't talked that much about that. While we still have it on and we're doing risks and everything kind of generalized for a moment, I'm going to bring up, I think this might be my best bet here, is hydrology. Yeah, let's talk about the rainfall potential on this for today and tonight. Is that not loading all the way in? Give me a moment here to force this. There you go. So next 2 days, rainfall, inch and a half or so. Not exactly a significant flooding rainfall event, thankfully, out of what we're looking at here. Give me a moment to look. There's one other thing I want here. That could be in a climate prediction center. No, it's not. Oh, give me a second. There's some things in here. It takes me a little while to remember where it's at. Either way, we covered the rainfall end of this here. Before we go too far in, one of the limiting factors is going to be the amount of available moisture out there, in particular fuel for thunderstorms. The dew point, one way in which we kind of show that. I should be able to pull that up here using their national dew point. So we talked about it in our previous discussion, the drier air that we kind of are trying to overcome. You can see that moisture. That's what all these kind of purplish sort of colors are. That's that moisture surging out of the Gulf of Mexico, where you see here where we have some of these dew points in the purples. That's a lot more significant. And honestly, if we go back to where we did that other discussion overnight, you'll notice how this is a major difference in the moisture surge that we had, right? Just some of those spots that I've clicked on here. For example, you see upper 50s dew points in the northern part of the state, mid 60s for Jackson. If we bring it to now, this is the moisture increase we've seen. We're now kind of in this purple sort of colors where we have 70s and mid 60s out there. Now, the main surge is right ahead of the front, back to the west of us. And so that's one of the important factors here is that main surge is still back to the west, and we expect this to kind of phase eastward as this batch of thunderstorms moves toward us, and as this front moves into the area. You can see that as of this time, we do have a tornado watch in effect for locations back out there towards Shreveport, Louisiana. That is of anticipation of the more active weather coming out of this system over the course of the next 12 hours or so. I think it's reasonable. We probably have tornado watches for at least part of the area later on this evening. Now, a watch means the conditions are in place that could lead to development of a tornado. Okay, all of that to say that when watches are issued, we need to be planning ahead on where we're going to go, right? And we need to be, getting conceivably within steps of that place. Let's see if I can get this to, yeah, I'll get that off there for a second. And I'm going to put on and make sure all of our alerts are on. And I'm going to turn on the watches. I have those turned off just because it tends to get a little cluttered from time to time. Actually, I don't have those turned off. Now, hold on a second here. Even if I were in the same country, there's some growing pains on this one. I'm not seeing my watches on there. Put that back on. There we are. Okay, so there are watches. Let's get some times on that. Also looks like they put a severe thunderstorm watch out farther north. And that's, can you give me my watch? Oh, that's right. I have to click that. Y'all have to pardon me for a second as I continue to remember all this sort of stuff. My brain's on middle of the night time here. So there's that watch, tornado watch out for locations back in the southern Arkansas, western Louisiana, eastern Texas. As you can see, 9 p.m. time period there. And then we have severe thunderstorm watch farther north. So the tornado watch is south. Severe thunderstorm watch is farther north there. We're gonna play along. There we are. And that's until 6 p.m. So this line will move eastward this evening, and we will have more significant chances for severe weather as it does. We've gone the overview long enough here, and I apologize it's taken me so long to get my brain fully on here. Let's kind of talk through some things. First off, let's kind of see if we could talk through that's that risk area here. I'm going to pull up a version. Give me a second. Let's show this graphic here for a moment. which I think does a good job kind of talking about the overall storm threats. And I'm covering that one up. So let's try a different one. Give me a moment. Our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will be continuing to update this. I need to say this before going further. First off, so being that we're in Australia, I have flights today because we were flying, different parts of the country. I will be out of pocket as far as severe weather is concerned from probably about 6 p.m. Mississippi time until 9 p.m. Mississippi time. During that time period, meteorologist Maggie McCauley and our Caleb Edelblut will be available, watching and tracking any issues that we have. So I just want to be clear that there will be a time period in there where I am not going to be available. Those two are going to do a fantastic job because these are not unlikely to be high-end tornadoes, right? And even if it were high-end tornadoes, Maggie has tons of experience and Caleb is incredibly good at what he does and getting better. So we'll be okay there. I'll pull that full screen. Let's instead take the graphic full screen there for a moment. And so as we do, let's kind of advance this, show our overall severe threats now that I'm not covering them up as much. So here we go. So again, it's a possibility, I would say, that we could see a couple of tornadoes out of this. Obviously, that's the reason everybody's concerned. That's the reason I'm talking about this from out here in Australia. Let's go ahead and see if we can. There we go. Clear that off there. So that potential for tornadoes, not extreme by any stretch, but a few tornadoes are possible. More likely that we see 60+ mile per hour wind gusts. And there's a part of the line where I think the combination of those two things is more significant. Okay, so let's bring it back where I'm on camera here again, and let's change the graphic. I'm telling you right now, I'm logged into 4 different computers right now. So I apologize if it's taking me a minute to get through this. Okay. So let's go with this graph. I need 18Z. So let's stop that. Let's go to the end here. So I'm going to try not to jumble up Maggie's show too badly. And then I need, 18Z is not going to be out because it's 1:40 p.m. your time. I might have a version of the HRRR that is, in a second here, latest. This might work. Hold on, let's try this. Okay, it picks up an hour from now. Okay, let's try this. This might work. Okay, so this shows that basically that line of storms is widened it just a little bit. But I don't have the right city names on this. That doesn't matter. If you can generally pick out your area, this is going to work good enough. Okay. So there's that line. You can see how it has those individual stripes representing the storm rotation as well as the individual thunderstorms as well. Here's where things get interesting, in my opinion. First off, this is a bit slower than what we had with this and that overnight update that we've had running on the channel most of the day, or at least, yeah. And so that is a little bit slower, I'd say. And again, this is the very latest version of the HRRR model here. You'll notice it has. I'm just gonna walk through this for a second. Where does this end? This ends at 6 a.m. So let's go ahead and let's change the time on my graphic here to where it will end that 18 hours from now instead of 48. That should allow me to be a little more sensitive on my time on this. There we go. Okay. So there are individual thunderstorms west. And so that's part of the reason why, again, they have that tornado threat farther south. You can see these stripes there, right? This is projection as of 6 p.m., so about 4 hours and 20 minutes from now or so. Where the southern part there of Arkansas, and then down in Louisiana, you have more of these discrete individual thunderstorms. There's always a greater tornado threat with those if they can get going. And that's still the same situation in this situation here. So we show that batch of thunderstorms working eastward there with kind of that grouping moving up toward Memphis a little stronger. I'm just really interested by these prefrontal storms. That's what we depict there. 9 p.m. we have this cluster. Sometimes those prefrontal storms are more likely to be rotating thunderstorms. Other times, they're not deep enough. They're what we call elevated. So they look like they're spinning, but the rotation can never get down to the ground. And I think that could be what we're dealing with here, considering the time of year, October, just-in-time moisture. A lot of times that's the way this ends up working out. So that's kind of my initial thought on how that could play out, is that those could end up being starved for a feature. But I think that they represent a surge of what we call the low-level jet moisture. And so the question is that how does that then interact once the line gets there and enhance the potential for the line to produce more in the way of severe weather? So let's continue kind of tracking this forward there. So we're looking at 10 p.m. We're looking at 11 p.m. Later in the 11 p.m. hour, 11:30 or so. Okay, here's what I'm thinking here. And I'm seeing this again here. Okay, so we have all these red stripes. Okay, first off, those aren't really individual thunderstorms. That's mainly a line. Now, the one ahead does have some rotation on that lead storm there, 11:30 or so. So this is, again, slower than what we were looking at with the overnight runs. Okay, I'm going to pull off the updraft helicity, which is the storm rotation. We'll put it back on here in a minute, but I want to pull it off for a second. See how you have this S right there? In a QLCS, quasi-linear convective system, which is what this is. In a QLCS, that's where we start to see that rotation potential. It's kind of in the middle part of this S. And so I'm not saying it's going to be exactly where this is showing it, targeting here. This is probably going to go. Let's go forward rather than me guesstimate where I think it's going to go. Let's see where the model actually shows it going. Come on. Yeah, working northeastward. Okay, now that goes closer to this, say, Starkville, Amory, Tupelo, somewhere in there. We'll go back through all this again, slower, here in a minute. I promise. This is just for me to kind of get an idea at the latest run. Because we're at that time of day where we get a new run on this model every single hour. And by the time you memorize, figure out everything with the current run, you got a new one in. So what I see here is there's a zone. I'm telestrating on this. Okay. But I would say south of Iuka, Boonville, Water Valley, Cleveland, and north of, I'm not going to get into Jackson. We're not largely doing Jackson on Mississippi Live weather yet, partially because want to make sure we nail North Mississippi before we go with the rest of the state. We'll look at that for you guys here in just a second, a little more detail. But Aliceville back out here toward Jackson, north of that, and then really Red Bay, Tupelo, Corinth. There's a zone where this S is going to come through on this projection, and there will be an area of enhanced rotation that could lead to tornado development. Either way, it's also the most likely spot to see damaging wind as well. But this kind of bow shape many times comes with a damaging wind threat. Again, there's another area down there south that I'm looking at as well with that. Okay, so this is 1:30 in the morning. So let's kind of back this up here. So click like that. Is it going to move it back? Let's put the rotation back on there. Yeah. See, this still has near where that is, and you can kind of see the rotation track on that, kind of where that goes there, 12:30, 1:30, somewhere in that zone. I do see less of the brighter reds showing up as we get later into the night. And that is something we expect when we have slightly more limited amounts of available fuel. But I mean, okay, my assessment looking at this is I think we will probably have tornado watches unless this just all poops out before it gets here. I think it's reasonable we will have some tornado warnings later on tonight. Now, 1:30 a.m., I'm 15 hours ahead, just to get an idea on where I will be at that point. 1:30 a.m., so 1:30 p.m., 2, 3, 4. 4:30 p.m. this time zone, right? Hold on. I got to go from this time zone back. I think I subtract 3. So it'd be 4:30 p.m. Yeah. Okay, here's the issue. I'm either A, going to be on a bus. Hopefully that's the case. I should have some kind of service at that point. Or B, we're going off into the middle of nowhere tonight. So I don't know that I'm going to be available for this. We'll do the best we can, but there's, I can't miss. I unfortunately can't stop everybody. Can't make everybody miss flights and that kind of stuff with this. So I'll tell you, Caleb and Maggie will be in perfectly good shape on handling this. But I would also say that I highly recommend, as we often do, y'all picking up Weather Call, because Weather Call is something that will let you. Apparently, this one's set up where I'm off camera the other way. There we go. Got to change my camera. Weather call will let you know either way because this is so late at night. We'll be up covering it. Somebody will be up covering this. But because it's so late at night, seconds make a difference. The Mississippi Live Weather app will alert you, but if you have Do Not Disturb on your phone, it's going to not necessarily bust through. Do Not Disturb stops that kind of stuff. So you might want to turn off Do Not Disturb overnight. Of course, that means you're going to get alerted and awakened and all that stuff. I would say that's a good thing. But yeah, you want to make sure you have weather call. There's a QR code that lets you know that information there. It will call you back if tornadoes are confirmed for your location. I think that's an important thing. You get the phone call when the tornado warning is issued. You get the call back when it's confirmed. We'll let you know for severe storms as well if you select that on startup. It does cost $15 a year. It's not $15 a month. It's $15 a year. Use that QR code. That'll get you the information. MSLiveweather.com also has that there. It is what I have for my family, meaning that when this is going off, if my family back in Mississippi, the rest of my family that's back there, our children, get under a tornado warning, I'll get phone calls for that. My wife will get phone calls for that, even though we are overseas at this instance. So it monitors that location. Unfortunately, it's not free, but it is definitely worth what you pay for it in this instant here, I would say, because it is a peace of mind that will wake you up if you're legitimately in danger. And then you don't have to worry about whether or not, you don't have to just stay up all night and worry. You just ultimately react and know where that tornado safe place is. Okay. So back here, the Mississippi Live, as we're looking at storm rotation here, I promised we'd go a little slower through this. So let's do that. So one of the things I find interesting on this, and I need more clarification, is this batch back there toward Belzona, where it shows that hourly rotation, fairly decent strength on that. I don't necessarily see represented on the model where the storm is. Let's delete that updraft rotation out again, that storm rotation. See, okay, what have I got going on here? Let me double check this. Make sure my storm rotation is of the same hour as the rest, because I did just kind of hack this together. Give me a second. Okay, that's latest. I'm going to go through each of these and make sure I'm on the latest model data. That's latest on that, because those should line up better than that. That's on the latest. Okay, okay. Well, then, is that on the latest? I apologize, I'm having to figure this out. Typically, I'd set this up better, but it's 4 a.m. here. My brain's only about 75%. Okay. Well, let's just kind of advance this forward then. We'll play this forward. So I'm interested why it. Okay, we're gonna go low res on this. I think what I have here, I think I have 2 different model projections on the rotation there. And so I think what that also shows me is you can see how much slower it has this current one here. Let me try one other thing on this. Latest is 17Z. Let me dig in on this one here. $16Z. Okay. So my max reflectivity is 16Z. Okay. What does that mean? Okay. So between the 11 p.m. and noontime run of this model, it's a lot slower there. So let's go low res on this. Gotta go back to this computer here. Gotta click that. And I think this is the right one. Yeah, there we are. Okay. Nope. There we are. Okay. Let's go low res. And which computer is that? That's this one. Okay. So this is going to be a couple different models here we're looking at. I'll look at the HRRR. And let's look for, this should be, this is 12Z. I want 17Z. Okay, and I should be able to click forecast slideshow. And then we will look at the model trend here in a second. No, that's the wrong one. Give me a moment. There we are. I think it might be forecast loop. There we are. Okay. Sorry about that. Hey, we're going to figure this out at some point. Okay. Pointed at me? No. Angle it more. Okay. Okay. So there's that lead stuff developing. So that is whatever that storm is. So it does show a lead storm developing. This is before Z. This would be 10 p.m. tonight. A lead storm developing that has some rotation on that there for locations back west of Talbot County, Carroll County, Greenwood, possibly there, maybe a little south of Greenwood, where it has that one formed, and then kind of moving eastward and joining with the main line. And then it has the main rotation with that staying US 82. Now that does align very closely with what our overnight stuff was showing. Let's go back to 16Z, which is 1 hour older on the model projection here. Let's kind of walk through what that one is doing. Again, as far as lead storms are concerned, it does not have these deepening as much. That's what we were looking at a minute ago. And there's our main area of rotation kind of back there, that S shape we were talking about a minute ago, with the potential for damaging wind gusts with that. That once again largely keeps that golden triangle and does get it much more linear by the time it gets to the Alabama state line. So I, in a lot of ways, agree with what that's kind of depicting there. Let's go ahead and let's look at that storm rotation. We'll do what we call a run-to-run analysis of it. Give me a moment. Collapse that, please. Double click. What are we doing here? Give me a moment to force this to get to where I'm looking. Okay, severe weather. Updraft helicity. Let's do 3 hour max. Okay, let's come back up. Okay, so this is looking at storm rotation only. We look for the hour-to-hour tracks where they connect. So first thing I see looking at this is I don't have hardly any connection hour-to-hour. So what that means is as far as strong tornadoes go, this is also not seeing that. It's when those lines connect hour-to-hour that becomes more of a concern. Let's go all the way back here. And again, we don't cover Arkansas. There are people out there that we know that do. But looking at that one stripe there heading toward Tunica, right? See how that one connects. So we're looking for Northwest Mississippi. Kind of, sort of. There we go. You kind of see for a second there. That is one that stays on the ground a little bit if it's formed. But again, there are questions whether or not this is going to be enough moisture to get enough instability to maintain the updrafts to produce the tornadoes that are substantial and long-lived. So luckily, there's a lot of reasons to think that won't be the case. But that's what we're looking for, is when they connect hour to hour. These for our area largely are not. But I am going to bring this up here to the newest, and it does look like we have an even newer run. The 1 p.m. run looks like it's finally starting to come out here. So we'll check that here in a second. And then we will do kind of an overall run-to-run connecting. And then I'll actually be able to take a second to see if we can see some of your comments and questions. Okay, now that is interesting that I do get that one there that does connect hour to hour in the time period of, say, so that would be after midnight. So that would be midnight. Okay, hold on. In this case, 6Z is 1 a.m. Okay, that would be midnight. Okay, we're going to get there. Okay, so this is midnight. Oh, hold on, no. Okay, my thing here is behind. My computer. Okay, this is, I'm finally actually showing you 1 o'clock in the morning. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So it does have one sustained area of rotation kind of continuing over that time period. My thing on that, though, is by that time of night, I'm not sure if we have enough instability for that. Let's go ahead. Let's look at the very, very latest for a second. See how that changes here at all. I've got 1 hour, so that's worthless right now. Let's go back to this. Let's look at CAPE, which is a measure of fuel for thunderstorms. See how absolutely limited that is? Like, that is just negligible. So this is again why, while not impossible, we're just not impressed with the tornado threat on this. If that amount of fuel verifies, then a lot of things have gone right for us. So hopefully that's the case. I feel infinitely better seeing that one thing. Okay, let me minimize that here for a second. So let's bring this back to something else. Before we go any further, I'm going to pop this back up again, and then I'm going to get something else kind of lined up behind the scenes here. You don't have to worry about whether I'm right or wrong when you have weather call, right? I think we do a good job. I think I do a fairly decent job at this. But if you've got weather call, ultimately you get the warning on your phone and you go to your safe place. So I recommend it for everybody. Have Mississippi Live weather app, but have weather call. Snap a screenshot of that. If you have friends and family, I'd highly recommend that you recommend to them getting weather call. Click save on that. Let's go back over here. Okay. So I'm going to take it back to analysis mode here for a moment, and I'm going to try to see if I can catch some of. So I'm not going to be able to dig very far back in the comments. So if you do have some questions, we're probably not going to answer the what about this location, what about that location very well. Oops, nope, I clicked the wrong. Mississippi, and then there we are. We're back. So again, as things stand now, tornado watch for locations back out into Louisiana, locations back into Texas and southern Arkansas there until 9 p.m. Additional watches are probably going to come for locations to the east of that. I'm going to click that off for a moment here. Let's show the overall risk areas. A new risk area should be released, I think, at 3 p.m. that time zone. And so, again, the risk is out of here by tomorrow. Here's our severe risk for today. And as you can see, all locations involved in it and most locations in that level 2 out of 5 severe risk. The tornado potential, obviously, always the headline threat. But what I don't see here is necessarily, I'll see if I can find where it shows significant tornado. If we were talking about strong tornadoes, we'd be looking for an area here. You notice I do not have a strong tornado threat today. We're looking at brief spin-up style tornadoes. If we're to see something, wind gusts, as you note there, that's also a concern. But as far as significant, greater than 75 mile per hour wind gusts, that's not something we're necessarily concerned with in the large hails back to the west of us. Okay. Now, if you'll give me a moment, I will see if there's a way I can attempt to try to answer a couple of questions here, if that is something that makes sense. Let's see if I can read that. Gotta have the suspenders, man. I didn't even shave. I'm debating whether or not we're going to do the no shave November. Didn't even do my hair this morning, so apologize for that. By the way, for those of you joining late, it is presently just kicked over to 5 a.m. here in Australia. Good day, mate. That's the only Australian thing I can do. My wife can do great Australian accent. Not me, though. Let's see here. Live. Hey, this actually, let's talk about this for a second. And I will pop this back up. Let's see here. I need the Australian one there. And let's change this interactive windshield. Give me a moment to change the windshield here to lower left severe. And so let's remind ourselves about, safe places, unsafe places here. So now is the time if you do live in a location that you just don't feel is particularly safe, because the overnight nature of this, it would be probably, a good idea to think about maybe staying someplace else tonight. The most vulnerable locations when we talk about severe thunderstorms and tornadoes are going to be cars, trucks, and manufactured homes. Now, 360 days a year, a manufactured home is a great place, and honestly, just because of the economics of it makes sense. But the deal is that cars, trucks, and manufactured homes all share one thing in common: air can get beneath them, and if air can fit, it can flip it. And so that we need to be in a place with a solid foundation. And so cars, trucks, mobile homes are places that we don't want to necessarily find ourselves late tonight, especially if we're in that zone we've been talking about here, which should be able to tell us straight on this. It's going to be yellow. Great. Yellow on yellow. That's fine. So I would say, boy, that is squiggly. I wonder if it'll let me change the background image and leave that on. Put radar on. Does that leave that on? Yeah. So there will be some kind of spin up prone area in this zone here overnight. So when I mention, the cars, trucks, and manufactured homes, that we want to be in places other than that overnight, it's because of that potential for what are largely brief but spin up style tornadoes that are a possibility there. So we want to look and identify a place that's sturdier. Now, listen, that does not mean you need to go to a community shelter and sit there all night. That's not what I'm saying. But what got me thinking on this is the last time I went to the beach last month, we've done all our vacations, this last month or so. I talked on the phone with a researcher who has studied severe weather, sheltering, things of that nature. And one of the things we talked about is this idea that it's better to move down the sheltering continuum, i.e., move to a safer location. So a safer location than a mobile home would be a friend's house. Safer location than a friend's house would be a friend's house with storm shelter. Safer than that might be a reinforced, shelter. Anyway, the idea being that if you're outside, we want to move inside. If we're inside, we want to move to someplace sturdier inside, an interior room on the lowest floor. If we're inside and, we don't feel comfortable, then we want to move to a reinforced shelter. But we're just trying to move our way down this sheltering continuum. The idea being the worst is outside in a ditch, and then the best is in an EF5 rated reinforced storm shelter like one of the domes, right? And so you just want to move your way closer to a better shelter. And so not a bad situation here to maybe stay at grandma's house or someplace else a little more sturdy. But the idea being that we're just not sending everybody to shelters all night long during, a spin up style tornado event, which is what this is, but maybe staying at someplace a little bit stronger. That makes sense? So that's the big reason I wanted to come to this graphic and pop that up is because of that. We talked about unsafe places here. But this is kind of that other thing that goes along with it. Statistics tell us, and these are legitimate Mississippi statistics, that you're more than 20 times more likely to die if your home is hit by a tornado if you live in a mobile home. The number's actually almost double that, specifically for Mississippi. This is the nationwide number. The Mississippi number is almost double that. So if there's a tornado, a mobile home is not a safe place. Listen, most of the year it's fine. But on those days, we need to be someplace safer with a solid foundation. Okay. Most days of the year, it's an economical way to live and makes sense. Okay. But on these nights, we just have to, there's trade-offs with everything. I have a little electric car. When it rains really, really heavy, I'm not going to, or it snows, I'm not going to take that thing out because that's probably not the right choice. I'm going to take the truck. So there are trade-offs with everything. I don't know if I've updated all of those yet. Yeah. So overnight, make sure that you have the Mississippi Live Weather app and that you have those alerts turned on for it. Mississippi Live Weather Call. But Code Red that Three Rivers Plan Development, some other local agencies have, make sure you have that as well. You want as many layers as possible because I don't know about you, but you wake up in the middle of the night to a tornado warning. It's like, what's going on? Well, if everything just went off at the same time, then you know something's going on, right? It's like, hold on, okay, something's happening. I got to get my brain in gear, and you look and you go, oh, tornado warning, and you get to that tornado safe place, right? So layer those alerts and you'll be in good shape. Okay. Let's check some more of those questions. I'm sorry I got the half a question before I started doing my thing. Let's see here. What time's going to rain in central Mississippi? So we kind of showed that a minute ago there. I'll see if I can. An empty bathtub on the lowest floor in a room with no windows. Cupcake mentions that there on YouTube. Appreciate all y'all on YouTube. The thing I'll say about that is, you want to make sure, again, interior room. The reason we say a room with no windows is your bathroom with no windows many times is in the middle of the house. The windows are important, but not important. It's the middle of the house that's the most important thing. The idea being it really has to work to get through multiple walls to get to you. I appreciate that Tina mentioned. I look like a nice young man from Mississippi that cares about the home state. We definitely do. Let me go back here and check some additional comments for a second. Now, I will say this. Someone rated a storm chase. Because of the overnight nature of this, storm chasing in the middle of the night is incredibly dangerous. Storm spotting makes more sense if you're closer to a shelter. I do appreciate, again, the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. They're going to be out there helping us out. We will be monitoring the information that they are sending in. They do a great job. We appreciate them for allowing us to utilize their camera network as well. But let's be smart. And yeah, it is nighttime in Australia. It's 15 hours different there. So someone was mentioning they have the old version of Weather Call. It will still call you. It won't be my voice, but it will still call you. There are some differences with our version of Weather Call. So I will say that there are some additional alerts to go with that. Lightning alerts being one of those. You will with the previous version of Weather Call. You will still get tornado warning alerts. It will wake you up in the middle of the night. If you want to sign up with our version, you can. And you can, go in there and tell the other one not to renew. But, ultimately, in my opinion, just make sure that you have something, you have those different layers to let you know that you're in the danger zone. Okay. Let's go ahead and pop that full screen back there again. I'll see if there are some additional comments and we'll go ahead and kind of shut this thing down here. Someone mentioned best dollars they spend, Weather Call. I mean, I agree. It's peace of mind. And there is, in my mind, incredible value that goes along with peace of mind here. Starting up Australia Live Weather. No, the reason I'm not starting up Australia Live Weather is so I'll show you where we're at. And we're at this, amazing resort, right? And so the roof here over these little cabanas or whatever you want to call these, right? Is slatted. And one of the guys came a minute ago. He's like, hey, you're not protected from the rain there. Because I originally set up on that one instead of on that one. And so he's like, hey, you're not protected from the rain here. I was like, oh, that's a good point. I need to move it. Do you think it's going to rain? He's like, I can smell it. I think it'll rain. I was like, it's funny. I'm a meteorologist and I need to have a local person tell me if it's going to rain. It has not rained yet, so I'll give credit to me as far as that's concerned. But anyway, it's a cool place. We've got like a little pool there. It's actually glass on the end. Real high class stuff, I guess. And I'll walk you over there. I wonder if I can, it might lock up the video for a second. I'll put the weather call thing back on. And I'm not going to be able to look at comments easily there. Let me see if I can, where can I look at comments easily and big? How's Kosciuszko looking? You know, I'll do, that's what I think how we'll wrap this up. I'm going to show one more time through on the, let's see, is that the right one? No, that's not the right one. Okay, one more time through on the model and where it's putting stuff, because that should have updated again a little bit, and then we'll probably go ahead and shut this down. And I'll go make sure I'm all packed up. Okay, so let's pull that off. Take that down. And still prep that follow my best bet. Unfortunately on this, I do not have all of the pause points in. This would be a lot easier if I had pause points in, but I should be able to, hold on. Go 4 p.m. Take that down to 0, but go. Okay, there we are, 4 p.m. Let's check and see if this is updated again. I don't know what that noise is. Okay. So there's 4 p.m. Oh, come on. 5 p.m. 6 p.m. I'll put a pause point there just because. Okay. 7, 8 p.m. There we go. 9 p.m. Okay. Okay. 10 p.m. So these lead storms here are kind of the question. I think they're largely going to be probably elevated. I think that this makes the most sense in the description, the discussion, that they would be elevated. Let's put the pause point there. 11 p.m. Oh, it's not going to do that. I'm going to have to go forward a day. That's not going to let me do that. It's fine. We'll just walk through. But see how there's a couple of those individual thunderstorms that it tries to still have. Let's go just past midnight. There we are. Let's go back on that. It does have a couple of those lead thunderstorms. It tries to make those produce something. Okay. There we are. Okay. 1 a.m. So we're going to, if you'll give me a minute, when we're done with this, I'm gonna go through this again and actually talk about it. So I'm not having to like click 17 things here. As I'm hitting up arrow to change the time and go and K to put pause points. There are just certain things that aren't fully built, and this is apparently one of those things. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna drop that back in. Where's that at? Let me drop this in the folder here. That's DMA latest. Hold on. I appreciate everybody being patient with me, trying to nail this stuff down. Okay, I need the map folder. Map folder. I think that'll be good enough. Okay. Now we can actually do something and talk about something with this. Okay. So put that in play. So there we are. There's 6 p.m. Those thunderstorms out west. Okay. So then you have kind of what this is trying to do. I don't know if I agree with this. It kind of has that line still pretty broken up at 8 p.m. on this latest version here. We're watching these storms down south. These are kind of on a surge of lower level moisture working its way northward into the area, right? Okay. So then bring it back in. So how much actually forms on that batch? What we have in the far northern part of the state there on this latest, and this kind of midday run here on this, this is not really super linear. This has a lot more stuff kind of ahead, including that one that has some rotation with it, but it's, okay. Yeah, see, and then that lines out pretty quickly. That's what I kind of would expect out of that there. Okay, but then we kind of have that main area that has some of that rotation. Let's watch that come in. So Kosciuszko, the person asked about Kosciuszko, we have a couple of those thunderstorms. This is closer to midnight. So I'll give you a refined time on all this here in just a second. Now that I'm looking at the latest. And this has, again, southern portion of the area there, Houston, Bruce, southward, where there's more rotation kind of in that batch there. The line, you'll notice, still does have little segments that are interesting farther south. So that leads me to believe it's not unreasonable. We'll continue to have some damaging storms down in central and south Mississippi, which is the reason that risk area extends farther down there. Okay. So now all of that to say, let's come back over here. Let's pop up the risk area. Let's talk about kind of what I just learned based off of that. Again, new models come in every hour, and that means new opinions every hour. Which is great and bad at the same time. It's easy to change your opinion, but I don't think I'm necessarily going to change what I was thinking on this here. Let's go lower left, and I'm going to change the color of my telestration. Let's just do blue. That works. Okay. So I still think that the peak tornado risk for our area is somewhere in this zone here as that little S-shaped line, that squall line gradually works its way eastward. So what are we talking about with this as far as timing? You know, I would say if you're kind of in this zone here, I'm sorry, let's take that all the way back to the river. So in that zone there, you know, you're still primarily prior to midnight, right? So this is kind of your midnight time period. And unfortunately, I cannot put text with the system on in the same way I could before, which is super annoying to me. But you know, not every system's perfect. And then kind of this zone east here, the peak time frame is going to be post midnight. Oh, and that apparently is still okay. So back west. Let's get on something else other than this. You can't see that with the colors we have on there. Actual surface, 6 hours. There we go. Let's clear that all off. Radar, and now we're clear. Okay. So I would say, you know, before midnight, you know, this is the more likely time frame, and it could run faster. Is that telestration just not showing up on my end? Oh no, I've lost my connection on that. Well, let's see here. I've lost my connection to my weather computer, but it looks like I'm still up. Okay, I'll have to see if that'll reconnect. Well, anyway, we've talked about this long enough, don't you think? I think we've kind of covered most of this. Let's go ahead and pop me back full screen. Let's kind of see what else we've got there. Yeah, I know. I love nighttime storms as well. That's my favorite. Okay, so don't get too attached to the box. That's one of the dangers of me drawing on there too specifically is people get attached to exactly. I would say threat starts back at the Mississippi River prior to 8 p.m. It starts near the I-55 corridor as early as maybe 10 p.m. or as late as 11 to midnight or so. And then it could be well after midnight for locations Tupelo to the east, maybe 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning before this is exiting Pickens County, Alabama, as is typically what happens a lot of times on these overnight events. Just kind of looking at my map there, that's kind of the timing. Either way, it's late tonight and timing will shift. Our next live update, as it is scheduled, is set to be tonight at 6 o'clock. We have another live update at 10 p.m. tonight for our full-on live shows. Everything will be more perfected than what we have here. Maggie's a lot more professional than me as far as that's concerned. And she'll have updates along with our Kayla Bettelblut. And again, appreciate the good folks at Room to Room for sponsoring us here in the Room to Room Weather Center, whether it's in Mississippi or halfway across the world. I'm going to go ahead and bring my camera back on here for a moment. The other thing, I do see that we have a lot of chat that often happens on the Facebook chat, and appreciate that. That's always a robust channel of information exchange. But if you're one of those 200 people still watching me on there, or 44 on one of the YouTube channels, another 40 on the other one, after we've been blabbing on for almost an hour now, just know that your probably safest way to get me and bring things up is going to be with the Mississippi Live weather app. Our folks are live on there. It's just kind of one-stop shop. Grab the app. And the cool thing is right at the top of the app is the live feed. So when we're live, like right now, it's right at the top of the app there. In fact, I've not gotten my iPad on the network here. I can show you kind of how that works. Speaking of, I probably ought to charge my iPad 43%. Yeah, I'm going to wish I'd charged that later today. Where's the app at? Oh, got to get it on Wi-Fi. Okay. Oh, I'm going to have tons of alerts. I haven't had this thing on Wi-Fi for about 3 days, so who knows what's coming through on this. Sleep mode is on. See if I can get it connected to... We'll see if that comes up here in a minute. Either way, make sure to have the app, whether you're all the way across the world or back at home. It works. I have actually found it's one of the more reliable apps for here in Australia from what we've had. But honestly, I've been underimpressed with every single app as far as that's concerned. But yeah, there you go. There's me playing on this same iPad in the future, because technically where I'm at here, it's actually Sunday, believe it or not. So anyway, that's the live stream there. There is a little bit of a delay. Let's be clear about that. There is a little bit of a delay, okay? But there's no more delay than you'd get from TV station or anything like that. Okay, we'll double check, make sure there's nothing else, and then we're going to kind of wrap things up here. Appreciate everybody for watching. Like and subscribe on all the different places and things. Yeah, a lot of people getting real specific. Don't get real specific on this on the what's what I'm looking for on the exact spots on this. I gotta show you this sunrise here. Okay, but let's pray real quick here for a second. God, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with these people, to take care of them. I know that you've built whatever platform that you've built for me over the years, because your plans are good for them, and you want to utilize me as a tool. God, please keep everyone safe from the active and severe weather. Help them make wise choices as far as sheltering is concerned. And God, I just please empower Caleb and Maggie with the knowledge and wisdom to accurately track these storms in my stead, and give me opportunities if you desire for me to be a part of that tracking and watching and everything we do tonight. God, just give me an opportunity to be there and with enough Wi-Fi service, internet service to do that. But God, if it is not in your plan for me to help track these storms tonight, God, give me peace with the lack of service. Just help me with that frustration. Help me to not be frustrated with Emily and with other people around me just because I don't have Wi-Fi service and feel like I'm indispensable. Because God, we know that you're indispensable and your plan is perfect and that you know exactly what you're doing. And if you need me, you'll use me. And if you don't, you'll use Caleb and Maggie. And God, I just pray you give them a supernatural ability to track these storms tonight if necessary. And God, help them to be weak. Help us to be overestimating these. Help my nervousness to not translate to people at home, because my nervousness is not necessarily based on weather. It's based on circumstances of being here instead of back there. And then God, just help me to be okay with that. Help these people to make wise choices. And thank you again for this opportunity to be here. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I'll show you sunrise or pre-sunrise here in Australia. We're in Cairns, Australia, and looking out over the bay there. One of the interesting things, I don't think I can flip this. Nope, I can't. So I'll just do it this direction. I might be able to flip this. Give me a second here. Sorry about that. But one of the cool things that maybe you can see there is that look, with the tide goes, can it zoom in? Nope, it doesn't zoom in. Oh, well. It's a great story. Okay, let's get this rotation right. Anyway, one of the cool things is just, I'll take you for a walk. Might as well, right? I just love the fact that the water, like goes out and in. You can see low tide and high tide. A lot of cool crabs and stuff like that down around the beach as well. You know what? It's my channel. I can do what I want to, right? Let's just go down there because I'm clearly still awake. What time is it? And I can't get food for another hour. Yeah, I'm going to disconnect all of these. Give me a moment. I'm going to keep y'all on the chat. And you can stick around and walk with me to the beach or not. That's kind of up to y'all. So let's close out of that. Let's close out of that. Let's close out of. So I'm basically logging out of all my stuff there, so then I can log it back in on the iPad if you want to shut it down that way. And who knows? I might be able to possibly better read your comments this way. We'll find out, right? Won't we? Give me a second. I'll put y'all on the gizmo. Apologize. It's all. There we go. Hold on. Yeah, I know. Blair Witch Project. There we go. Okay. Got that. So let's connect this to my hotspot. Maybe we can do that while we walk. Let's find out, right? No day like today. Okay. Where are we at? There. And I'm gonna zip up the rest of the backpack. Let's go take a look and see. And let's lock the rotation on this. And I'll see if I can answer questions while we're doing this. Rotation lock. Good. And let's connect that to Wi-Fi. And we're going to connect to my hotspot. Good. Okay, I think I've got. There, we should have sound now. Okay, let's change this back, but it's no longer trackpad. Okay, there we go. Now we should be good. Okay. Not only are we good, but now I can actually read your comments. Look at this. I figure we'll figure this out someday, right? Okay, so welcome to Australia. That said no sound again. Why? Hold on. I'm going to hit refresh on one thing here. And maybe that'll make it to where I'm only on this. So I'm not going to have any comments that were on there before. I just got rid of those so that it'll stay on the most recent comments. But yeah, welcome to Cairns, Australia. And maybe, just maybe, I'll sleep better tonight if I actually stayed up this time around. This part of Australia is kind of known as the entryway, but like gateway to the Great Barrier Reef. And we had the opportunity to actually go down to the reef yesterday, which was incredible. Because of storm stuff and everything, I have not cut that video yet. After we wrap this up, I'll probably cut that video, looking ahead toward later shows. I don't know if I'll have to get something for Maggie and them for 5 and 6 o'clock. I'm going to appreciate the folks at MLM for that. But, and maybe, if you grow up in a place that has tides, this isn't so entertaining. But for me, it was just kind of entertaining to watching the crabs and stuff like that in the bay here as the water went out. This is not the bay we're at here is not one of those. I'm used to going to Florida and it's nice clear water. In here, close, not clear water. We had to go 20 some miles. Might have actually been 30 miles out into the Pacific there to make it to the reef that we were able to dive in yesterday. I'll post videos. I'll post plenty of videos of that. It was incredible. One of the most incredible experiences of my life. Looking at all the, I mean, you should not be able to see tropical fish between you and your hand out there, but I was able to do that, and I thought was just the coolest of cool things. So something I certainly enjoyed a lot here. But yeah, this time zone, we're about 5 a.m. or so. Hold on, change your chat to live chat with. I'll have to look at that time frame coordinate. Sounds good. Someone was asking if they can chat in the app. We do not, unfortunately, have that ability at this point. That is something that we do want to try to get in there. At this point, we don't have something. One of our other members, as part of the National Weather Network, which is the group of people doing what we're doing here of Mississippi Live Weather, I think is smart enough to be able to help me pull that off. That's not something that I can, unfortunately, do myself, though. I wonder if the cool bats are still out. So they have these bats that they call the flying fox here. That the wingspan is like from camera to here. How do I show a distance? Oh, here's the end for this. Okay, hold on. Let me angle this down. See at the end of this. But like the wingspan is like that. I might actually be underdoing it a little bit. They are the coolest thing. Emily's been obsessed with them. Yeah. Anyway. So Smithville asking how bad it's going to get. When are we coming back? So we get back Friday evening, next Friday evening. Travel to here is about 32, 33 hours body time. So we will actually leave Friday morning, cross the international date line back and get back there Friday evening. The funny thing about that is that our Friday will then end up being like 36 hours or longer than 36 hours long. So it's a long time there. Someone asking again, time frame Corinth. I can thumb through that. I might be. I don't know. I can only do one computer at a time on this one. I can see what I can do on that if we can make it work. Let's try here a second. So that's links. Oh, nope, that's not going to work. Let's come over here. Change your chat to live chat. Okay. I'm going to have to. I'll see if I can do that, if I can change that. Okay. Ignore the fact that's just like a random line. And it's going to take my computer a second here. I'm going to have to log out and log back into a different computer. Just give me a moment for that. Yeah, we fly out from the airport over there to Brisbane a little later on. Australia's big. You know how the United States is big? Well, Australia is big, like really big. So it's we traveled from kind of where Sydney is in the south part of the island to the far north part where we're in the tropics here. Like we were in a tropical rainforest 2 days ago, and we're going to be in one again a little bit later on this week. Let's go ahead and clear that off. I'll see if I can make timing come back up there. I think we had that under show prep. And this is one model at one time here. So again, it's not perfect by any stretch. So let's pull up that. So here's kind of a little look at timing here for a moment. And you'll notice here, again, 6 p.m., all the activity still back to the west of us. As we go toward, come on, advance. Let's see if it should advance up here and I can't see it. Oh, no, I shouldn't have touched it because now I went sideways. Hold on. Boy, it does not like it when I'm trying to drag that out of the way so I can see. So give me a moment. I'm going to have to make it to where it rotates me correct. And there we go. Lock that there. Okay, now I've got that all figured out. Okay, so this is 6 p.m. See there, that is 8 p.m. So you can kind of see that line there near the Mississippi River at that point. This is 9 to 10 p.m. Now, while we have storms moving through, most of these are below severe limits, I'd say, at this point here. I also will tell you, I think this particular version of Futurecast here on the HRRR model is a little slow, potentially. But what I also see on this is I see just some individual thunderstorms running ahead. And I do get interested on that one near Belzona because that is, that is kind of a discrete storm kind of running ahead there. So we'll see. Those are always the ones we get a little more concerned about. Kind of the line back toward Greenville and then some back toward Cleveland. And most of these individual thunderstorms are just, I'd say, they're a little less impressive. I wonder if I do two fingers, will that zoom in, zoom out? Nope, that still moves it. Well, okay. Usually I have little pluses and minuses in toolbar built in, and I don't on this one. Okay. So beyond that there. So general timing, again, that line, there will probably be more wind than what this is kind of indicating there still as of around 11 p.m. But you get a general idea. We'll have some thunderstorms strong to potentially severe Corinth, Boonville, New Albany, back toward Water Valley by around 11 p.m. on this particular projection. So still working on the timing. The main line, though, is what's kind of coming through there, kind of the one with more rotation is strong wind. From Water Valley back to Grenada, there's kind of a little S sort of shape there with that. That's coming in, as you can see, midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. Houston, they're closer to, say, Eupora by 2 a.m. there near Hamilton, Alabama, and locations to the east. So that's kind of the zone we're watching the most closely for that to occur and most likely to have some impacts for. What time is it? It is 5:45 a.m. and that was my alarm going off to wake me up so that we can get stuff out for the airport. So I'm gonna have to go back in and probably deal with that in a second. But we've kind of talked through, I think, everything at this point here. Hopefully, that this all kind of makes sense. Give me a second so I can log out of this computer. We'll go ahead and kind of shut this down. But our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, as well as Caleb Edelblut will have updates on this. We'll be well taken care of tonight, trust me. But as I've talked about a few times here, and if you got on late, maybe you haven't heard, being that we are in Australia, I am going to be traveling today, and I'm going to be on a plane for part of this today, and then I'm going to be in the middle of nowhere for part of this. I will occasionally have internet, and it's possible that that internet timing could actually work out to where we can do some of this here. Someone was asking me if I'm No Shave November. That is actually something that we're probably going to do is No Shave November. My wife's mother is a breast cancer survivor. 4 years now, I think, almost 5 years. And her father is a prostate cancer survivor. So both those cancers, touching close to my family, and that means the genes for both of those pass into my kids, right? Potentially, depending on the types of cancer, the way that all works out there. And so anyway, that's all of that to say that, let's see if they pop this back full. Yeah, there we go. All that to say, yeah, I'm going to do No Shave November here, which is just weird for me because I've never gone more than about 2 weeks. If I cheated my way into not shaving before vacation and the week of vacation, I've only gone about 2 weeks without shaving. It drives me nuts every time I try. So I think that that's something that I'll probably end up trying this time as well. So we'll see. But yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed the little tour here of Australia. We'll get some of those videos again posted eventually here by about all the stuff we saw yesterday at the Great Barrier Reef. Got to fly over in a helicopter. You want to talk about cool? That's cool. So anyway, well, y'all have a good one. Be safe. You're in good hands with Caleb and Maggie. If I'm not part of this, and I will probably be a part of this to a certain extent, as long as internet signal works to my advantage there. Only about 40 minutes till I get that breakfast. I'm excited for that. Okay. We actually will shut this down here unless we've got something on the desk next to the screen. I'll call Caleb. Caleb has a question, so I'll call him here in a minute. Yeah, go ahead and shut this down. Y'all have a good one and be safe, be smart. See if I can get over there and hit the right button quick.